What's up, y'all? Well, I was a senior in college, and I was dating this girl, and it was going fantastically. And she was everything that I was looking for. I mean, we'd been together for about a year, and she loved Jesus. She wanted to serve, like as a youth pastor's wife, which is what I was planning on doing when I got out of college, to be youth pastor. And we had fun together. I was wildly attracted to her. Everything I was looking for, she had it. About a year and 2 or 3 months in, I knew that I was at this intersection where I had to choose what I was going to do with our future. Like, we just couldn't date forever. At some point in time, I had to commit. We needed to get engaged, get married. And I remember praying this kind of prayer with God, like, God, would you give me like some supernatural clarity? Would you give me like an overwhelming sense of confidence that this is the direction I'm supposed to be going, that she's the one I'm supposed to marry? And I just remember asking over and over again for God to do something in me that allowed it to be really clear what he wanted for my life. And he never did. There was never a point when I knew without a shadow of a doubt, this is the girl. Like, there was no, like, I was like waiting for like a zap, like some type of spiritual electricity, and it never happened. We're in this series, and tonight's concept about upside down is this notion that many of us, if not most of us, when it comes to following Jesus, when it comes to pursuing Jesus, oftentimes what we're looking for is clarity from him. Like, we want to know what he wants from our lives. We want to know where he's leading us. We want to know what God has up ahead, and we want some kind of indication that we're on the right path. We want God to do something to let us know, oh yeah, this is where you're supposed to be. This is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what I want out of your life. And if we don't get that, we often hesitate, right? Well, I want to share a story with you from John chapter 9. Grab your Bible or your Bible app, wherever you're going to track along with me. And John chapter 9 is a wild story. This is Jesus. He's with his best friends, and they come upon someone who's been blind their whole life. So it's a man born blind, and his followers, the guys that he's with, ask him a question. They're like, hey, Jesus, this guy who's blind, he's always been like this, but is it because of his sin or because of his parents' sin? And the reason why they're asking this question is because in this day, there's a belief that sin would somehow correlate with like a disease or a disability or something wrong in a person's life, that it had to be directly related to sin, either their sin or their parents' sin. And so Jesus wants to correct that and make sure that that's not the way that they understand things. He says this, neither this man nor his parents sinned, said Jesus, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. What he's about to show them is God at work in front of them. Is that they're about to see something unbelievably great. He says, as long as it's day, we must do the works of him who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work. While I'm in the world, I am the light of the world. He's like, hey, there's a brief window of time that you're able to see God work like this, and they're about to see it. And then it gets a little strange. Story gets a little weird. Verse 6, after saying this, Jesus spit on the ground, made some mud with saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. Listen, I don't know what makes you gag. I hear people talk about open-toed shoes and having like feet problems. Like, people don't like that you can see other people's feet. That might be something for you. Maybe it's like excess of dandruff. or if people chew with their mouth open, or if they slurp their cereal. I don't know what makes you gag. Spit makes me gag. Okay, the idea of just being in that scene, Jesus spits on the ground, takes that dirt, molds it into mud, that would be unappealing to me. So I'm guessing that the people in that setting, we don't get a lot of commentary from it, but I'm sure that there's some weird looks as Jesus forms this little mud pie and he puts it on the man's eyes, and they're probably wondering, like, what's he doing? Why would he be doing this? Well, after he puts the mud on his eyes, he says in verse 7, he says, "Go, wash in the pool of Siloam." This word means sent. So the man went and washed, and then he came home seeing. And because we just read over that story, and maybe you've read that story before, and maybe you just kind of know there's things that Jesus did that were unbelievable, we just quickly fly over the fact that this man had been blind his whole life. I don't know how old he was, 25, 35, 55. His whole life without the ability to see. And then in one moment, he's able to capture all of the things that we can see right now. Like, he never watched the sunrise up until this time in his life. He was never able to look up and see the stars in the sky. He actually would never be able to see someone and see the way that they smile at them, the way that they react to them. He wasn't able to see that until right now. Like, the fact that Jesus gives this man sight is unbelievable, and he's pointing out, hey, I'm the creator. I'm the one that actually gives sight. I can take it away, and I can give it. But what you also can't pass by is this idea that this man, born blind, always lived this way, probably knew how to navigate around the town. And when Jesus puts this on his eyes, somewhere between being with Jesus and the pool of Siloam, he walks and navigates to it, and he still doesn't see. He doesn't have sight when he's walking to where he needs to go, to the pool of Siloam. And then he gets there and he washes his eyes out. And so it says, the man went and washed, and he came home seeing. He trusted Jesus even when he couldn't see. This man took a walk, banking on this guy's got a better answer than what I've been given so far. Maybe he's gone to doctors, probably couldn't have afforded it, but he trusted Jesus even when he couldn't see. So the man went and washed, and he came home seeing. Jesus invites us to trust him before we can see. This is the upside down way of Jesus, is that we can walk towards Jesus, that we can begin trusting Jesus even before things make sense. This is the way that he operates. It's the upside down way of Jesus. I don't know if any of you have gone to like a grocery store and seen this take place in the freezer section. The only reason why I'm going to a grocery store is to be in the freezer section, because I love ice cream, and that's the only thing I'd go to a store and buy is ice cream. And so in the freezer section, and it'd be coffee ice cream, by the way, which is the only way you should consume coffee, is in ice cream form, because it's not melted and it's frozen in a bowl. And in this aisleway, you'll notice that it's dark all the way down. Like, every doorway in these freezers are all blackened and there's no light in them. This is Walmart or Safeway or Fry's or something like that. And as you walk down, each time you either walk next to one of those freezers or you open it up, you'll see that it begins to illuminate and light up. You've been this? These are all motion activated. If you just stood there, you wouldn't be able to see anything, and none of those doors would open up. I think this is a good picture of what Jesus is calling us to, that our faith is motion activated. Our faith is motion activated. That it was never designed for us to just maybe know some things, and then wait for God to show up, but that we would walk towards him and we would see him move. See, the upside down nature for us is that we want a little bit more information. We want a little bit more study. We want a little bit more assurance. We want a little bit more confidence in whatever God is calling us to in order for us to make that decision. And if we don't have that, what do we normally do? Well, we normally wait. We normally stall. We normally hesitate. And Jesus is calling us forward. Faith is motion activated, meaning faith doesn't technically turn on until we start trusting Jesus. So if there's anyone in here that say, yeah, I'm a Christian, I'm a believer in Jesus, but yet you've not moved your life towards him in terms of obeying him and following in his footsteps, then you're probably not experiencing what it really means to be a Jesus follower. You're not experiencing the goodness of God. Let me show you some verses. Here's 2 Corinthians 5:7. For we live by faith, not by, say this word with me, sight. For we live by faith, not by sight. Hebrews 11:1 says, now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance of what we do not see. James 2:7 says, in the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. And then famously, Proverbs 3 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. What's interesting about this text is that he wants to make your path straight, which means he wants to guide you, and he wants to show you where to go. However, what's the first word in that text? Trust. It starts with trust. And then as you trust him, you'll see that he begins to reveal to you where he wants you to go and what he wants you to do. But here's my question for you. Where in your life might you be waiting as opposed to trusting? Where might you be wanting God to add clarity or to bring some clarity to your life, but you're just kind of hanging on and you're waiting for God to reveal it either supernaturally or you're waiting for him to show up somehow, but you want that to take place right now rather than doing what you are sure he wants you to do. Let me get personal with some of you guys. When it comes to seniors in high school, we have any seniors about to graduate in a couple of weeks? Are there any seniors that are waiting for God to drop a passion on you? Like drop a purpose on you that you just don't know what you want to do? And for the record, you don't need to know what you're going to do for the rest of your life on the planet while you're 17 or 18 years old. There's people that are 87 and still don't know. All the while, how many of us, if you're seniors, you're just kind of waiting for God to tell you what he wants you to do, as opposed to moving towards him, giving passions a try, giving some things a shot, rather than you trusting God. Maybe you're just waiting, just stalling. There's probably some of you, when it comes to following Jesus, that you've just hesitated a little bit about baptism, and you've hesitated about making the decision. And maybe it's because you need more information. Likely that it's not about information. It's not that you need more verses or more scriptures or more understanding of what the Bible is describing. That might be the case, but for the most part, maybe it's that you just want God to show you that this is the direction for your life, but he's already made it abundantly clear. You're waiting rather than just saying, hey, I'm just going to go. I'm going to make that decision, and I'm going to trust and see what happens as I meet Jesus in the water. Maybe for you, that's time to make that call right now and to not wait any longer. For some of you, it's little things like opportunities to express your trust in him. There could be a missions trip, and maybe you've been hesitant to go on a missions trip because it costs a lot of money. Maybe it's always been inconvenient at that time. Maybe you're just kind of unsure of what goes on in that trip, and you just wait. I'll just wait for the next one. I'll just get the next one. I'll get the next one. All the while, you could be on these trips, and they change your life. and you see God show up. And you see God show up usually after you decide. And once you say yes, then you see God showing up in your life when you sign up for that trip and you go. And how many of you have been on one of those trips before? Raise your hand if you've been on one of those mission trips. Don't those trips change your life? When you go on those trips, doesn't God show up for you when you go on those trips? Some of you, it's about camp. And I don't know your reason for hesitating to go to camp. Maybe some of you are concerned about what your position would be next season in sports. And if you're not at summer ball, then you're going to be pulled back and you're not going to be able to play the degree that you want to. Maybe you're concerned about the cost, or you're concerned about what would happen when you're there. I don't know what it is for you, but what if you just decided, I'm going to go. I'm going to trust that God's going to use that camp for my life in some way to draw me close to him, to speak to me. And for those of you that have been to camp before, that you know that when you go and you show up, God shows up through other people's conversations, through preaching, through worship. I mean, but you won't know until you make that decision and you decide and you go. Some of you are nervous about sharing your faith with people and talking about Jesus. I am too. I'm nervous about that at times. And sometimes what we do is, God, I need to know a little bit more. I'm not sure what I'd say. What if they ask me questions? What if somebody I'm sitting down with and I'm talking about Jesus and they ask me questions and I don't know what to say? Well, you're not gonna. And you can never fully understand what you're supposed to do in those situations until you decide, I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna have a conversation with somebody, and I guess I'll just see how it goes. I got one tomorrow. I have a conversation with a guy tomorrow. It's a coffee with him. I've never talked with him about Jesus. I have no idea where he's at. I know he's not a believer. I don't know what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna go buy him a Starbucks. We're gonna sit and we're gonna talk, and I'm gonna let God lead that conversation and open the door for an opportunity to talk about him. But I don't know what is gonna take place. I'm just gonna step into that because faith is motion activated. It's about moving in those decisions. It's about putting yourself in those situations and then seeing what would God do if I were just to say yes. If I were to say yes and just start moving in those ways. So back to college. I graduate college. This girl and I are still dating. And it must have been a little bit of my apprehension about commitment, watching my parents and family. I didn't have a lot of great role models of marriage growing up. And so I think I just had some doubts inside of me, and it had nothing to do with her. And so I just decided, it was the month of July, I'm like, I'm gonna marry this girl. So I went and I picked out the ring, and I went and asked her dad, and I started to kind of spread the word among my people. And I went and I got down on one knee and I asked her, and she said yes. And it wasn't until after I made that decision that all that confidence I was looking for swept over me. I think that's the way that God works. Is once you start moving towards him, once you say, yes, I'm gonna do that, and you start making progress towards following in his footsteps, I think then you will get some of what you're looking for in that confidence. That's that upside down ways. If you wanna see, you walk first. If you wanna see, you walk first. A couple years ago, my friend Ben and I went skydiving, and I thought it was such a surreal experience. That's Ben. I thought it was such a surreal experience that I was gonna go skydiving again, but I was gonna wait until my kids turned 18. And so my daughter turns 18, and we sign up, and she's game, and so she's standing next to me, and then our friends, Tony and Caleb, are there, and then the crazy skydive lady there at the bottom that looks like she's a professional skydiver is in the pick at the bottom. She jumped in. And the whole experience is wild. You get up to elevation where you're about to jump. You're at like 14,000 feet. And I didn't know this before, but they don't put a parachute on you. So I didn't have a parachute on my back. I just had a harness on. And they're going to strap you to somebody who will have a parachute. And I got my person and my guys like strapped to my back. And we're at 14,000 feet. He's like, all right, we're going to open the door. And my adrenaline's rushing and my heart's racing. I'm really nervous. And the door for the plane opens up. This plane barely flies, by the way. Door opens, air rushes in. It's cold, it's freezing cold air. And at this point, I've been given no instructions. We're just gonna like jump out of this airplane. And we get to the door and we kind of shimmy to the edge, and I hang my legs off the edge, and it's 14,000 feet to the ground. And he says this, hey, I'm gonna tap your shoulder. And once I tap your shoulder, we're gonna jump out. That's all I got. That's all the instruction was. I'm gonna tap your shoulder and then we're gonna fall out. And that's exactly what we did. He tapped my shoulder, we fell out of the airplane, I tumble around a little bit, and then you kind of like plane yourself and level yourself out. And the reality is this guy knew everything about what we needed to know. He's gonna watch the altimeter to see when we fall, when he needs to open up the parachute. He's gonna pull the ripcord at just the right time. He's gonna know what to do if there's an emergency and the chute doesn't open. And all I needed to do was just trust. All I needed to do was just let go. For you, Jesus is, and I think this is for me too, Jesus is constantly tapping us on the shoulder, waiting for us to go, waiting for us to jump, waiting for us to trust him, waiting for us to put our faith in motion because it's activated that way. My only question for you this summer and this season in your life is, where might there be a space in your life where Jesus is saying it's time? It's time for you to trust me and jump. Let me pray for you. Father, thank you for today and our students, and praying that today would be the day that, man, we'd make a decision to serve you in some way, that we risk in some fashion. I mean, you've called us to walk towards you, and as we do that, we come to life, that you animate us when we draw close to you. I'm praying for someone in here in one of our campuses to decide that they're either going to jump into the waters, or they're going to go on a trip, or they're going to talk to somebody, or they're going to do anything that they can to walk towards you, because you're good. We love you. It's in your name we pray. Amen.